Namaste. So now let's cover out international law for the purposes of the LLM course. So we go into development of international law. Now I want to point out two things to you before we start, that we'll be covering out the MCQs, and this content will also enable you to write descriptive answers in both the exams, in the ILI exam and the CLAT PG. So pay close attention. This is a development of international law. Now Greeks only considered their international rule as religiously binding, but for Romans the international rules work they considered as legal rules. No questions to be asked, just introducing the topic. लिखना है लिखिए, नहीं लिखना कोई problem नहीं. Right. Now Romans had a special set of priests, the 20 priests known as the Fetiales. Now अगर मैं Latin में इसको पढ़ूँ तो it's Fetialis, but मैंने internet पे pronunciation check करी थी, so it was Fetiales. So ये Fetiales has been asked 3 to 4 times in different LLM entrances, that who are the Fetiales, or Fetiales are related to the Romans. First and foremost, detail number 1, there are 20 priests for management of functions regarding the Roman relations with foreign states. Alright, so the group is known as Fatials. First important MCQ for the purposes of an LLM entrance. So they consider law as jus sacrum. So we don't read it as just, it's jus, Y-U-S, jus sacrum or jus fatiale, that is a divine and a holy law. So they were responsible to apply international law and manage or regulate the conduct of the Roman Empire vis-a-vis the world. MCQ number 1, important detail. Okay, so that's Fatialis. Now conditions favorable to the growth of modern law of the nations did not really come into being with the up till about the 15th century, when Europe basically was developed out into number of independent states. So तब तक international law की ज़्यादा कोई development हुई नहीं थी, but उसके बाद international law really started developing. So we'll have to focus on the jurisprudential theories on the basis of international law. So the first is the Grotius theory. All right, now science of modern international law owes its birth to Hugo Grotius. This is pretty much sort of like jurisprudence. So jurisprudence वाली list में Hugo Grotius, which we have already discussed in the jurisprudence lecture also थोड़ा सा. He is known, or rather you can say just Hugo Grotius left side पे लिखिए और right side पे लिखिए science of modern international law. Alright, very critical figure because his entire theory is based on international law. He is giving birth to modern international law. Alright. So his work, किताबों वाली list के अंदर the law of war and peace, जो original नाम है, obviously this is a translation, so it's de jure belli ac passus de jure belli belli ac is ac, air conditioner वाला ac, and passus passis. Alright, now he's also known as father of law of nations. Another standard MCQ in a LLM entrance, who is known as the father of law of nations? Hugo Grotius, simple as that. Now he's distinguished between jus gentium, that is law of nations. So this terminology is asked very frequently in LLM entrance. That's jus gentium, that is law of nations. He referred, this is pretty much customary to these, basically he referred these laws to as jus voluntarism, koi question nahi hai yahan se. And he distinguished basically between just jus gentium or jus naturae or naturae, that is natural law of nations. So two terminologies you're going to write down in your legal term list, that is jus gentium and jus naturae. So that's natural law of the nations. Then another set of theory is positivism, जो मैंने यहाँ पे mention नहीं करी. Positivism, as usual, it's Austin. I have not mentioned it here because, well, we've already covered in the jurisprudence section of the course, and he is one of the foremost critics also. And the third theory is naturalism relating to international law. So तीन हो गई main. Grotian, ये आपका positivist and naturalism. Alright, so the naturalists say that they deny that there is any, well, positive law of the nations, that is customs and treaties, because remember the positivists are after the sovereign, the command, sanctions. They saying ये क्या custom treaty हटाओ परे. It is only the international law is part of the law of nature. So the leading naturalist, you can say, it's Samuel Puffendorf, that is P-U-F-E-N-D-O-R-F, that's Samuel Puffendorf. Alright, now codification of international law. So thanks to Jeremy Bentham, he proposed a codification of the international law in his work Principles of International Law. Again, now hang on, jurisprudence के section में वो जो हम books की list जो compile कर रहे हैं, right, कृपया करके Principles of International Law वहाँ पे लिख लीजिए and Jeremy Bentham right on the left hand side. Okay, now we go to various draft codes. They were now various draft codes of international law. So they were prepared by the Institute de Droit International and International Law Association. So this was founded in 1873, Institute de Droit International and International Law Association, both founded in 1873, and Harvard Research in International Law, founded in 1927. Do I see a question coming from here? I don't see one, but I see a question coming from who proposed the codification of international law? Jeremy Bentham. AILET PG is very, very fond of asking such questions. All right. Now, the governments participating in the drafting of the Charter of the UN were overwhelmingly opposed to the conferring on the UN legislative power to enact binding rules of international law, but they were in favor to give power of study and recommendation. That is what led to the International Law Commission. So the governments who were into formulating the UN Charter, they were like, नहीं, तुम्हें ज़्यादा power नहीं मिलनी चाहिए. But what we'll do instead, okay, set up a body, since you are after international law, so set up a body which is going to study and recommend what to do in the domain of international law, right? So we go to Article 13, Para 1 of the UN Charter. The General Assembly shall initiate studies and make recommendations for the purpose of encouraging the progressive development of international law and its codification. Now comes the MCQ. This is Committee of 17. Write it down in your notes. Now, what is the Committee of 17? What is the Committee of 17 associated with? What is the role of Committee of 17? Endless number of MCQs can be created with respect to Committee of 17. So, during the second part of the first session, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 94. कुछ नहीं करना है यहाँ से, कुछ याद नहीं रखना है. So, sometimes known as the Committee on Progressive Development of International Law and Codification, sometimes known as Committee of 17. I have seen this question at least appearing 5 to 6 times. कि Committee of 17 बताइए. What is the Committee of 17 relating to? Codification. That's the committee that was set up within the United Nations for codification of international law. Thus, very, very important committee. All right. So we set up, after basically thanks to this committee, we set up an International Law Commission. Now, the Committee of 17, which recommended the creation of the Commission, had suggested similarity between the International Court of Justice and the Commission with regard to the method of elections. So now another MCQ that appears. Another MCQ is, let me just zoom it in, that the election to the International Law Commission will be headed by, or rather is controlled by, is conducted by, should be by the General Assembly. All right. And how many members are there? There are 34 members. That is also another MCQ to International Law Commission में जरा लिखते चले जाएगा details. And then secondly, we are looking at who? Anirudh Rajput of India is the present member till 2021. So these members, they are nominated by nation states and then they are elected by the General Assembly to the International Law Commission. All right. The headquarters is in Geneva, if I'm not mistaken. Fact check me on this. Any which way, the present member from India, this is important. Which of the following is or has not been a member of the International Law Commission? So they're going to give you a list of 4 names. One is not going to be. So the answer to that question, Anirudh Rajput till 2021, election abhi hone wala hai. Abhi aage ho jayega. So a newer member will come in. Hopefully an Indian will be there in this panel. So Anirudh Rajput from India is the present member. Abhi zara aage dekh lete hain. एक दो मैंने आगे कोट किए हुए हैं, तो उनके नाम ये रहे, नगेंद्र सिंह एंड नरेंद्र सिंह. ये तो दोनों बड़े आसान हो गए ना रटने. नगेंद्र सिंह, नरेंद्र सिंह were both part of the International Law Commission. The strength is 34. The tenure of membership is 5 years. The members wanted 6 to 7 years because it takes a lot of time to codify international law. But mind you, this is only a body that is there. This is not a code of law. This is only a commission that suggests, well, what do you do with the international law? All right. Now, headquarters in Geneva, so you need to fact check me on this. Nagendra Singh, Narendra Singh, India and India. और कौन से member हैं जी? Anirudh Rajput, India. This is Pemaraju Srinivas Rao, India. Shri Benegal N Rao, ये तो हमारे Constitution वाले भैया जी आ गए यहाँ पे, हमारा advisor साहब of the Constituent Assembly. And Radha Binod Pal from India from 1950 to 1966. Do you need to remember the tenures? No, absolutely not. So कौन कौन हो गया जी? अनिरुद्ध राजपूत, नगेंद्र सिंह, नरेंद्र सिंह. अगर दोनों नाम याद भी रहे तो याद रखिएगा सिंह सिंह है, 2 पंजाबी थे यहाँ पे. अच्छा जी. Then we go to अनिरुद्ध राजपूत हो गया. Then we go to आपके ये BN राव साहब, Srinivas Rao and Radha Binod Pal. नाम तो याद करने पड़ेंगे. There's pretty much no way out of it, right? So which are, that is then we can fetch marks for that one question. Which of the following has not been a member of the International Law Commission? Now we go to, so this is basically, I don't think that we need to go into this for the purposes of our ये क्या बोलते हैं LLM exam, but let us, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा descriptive के लिए I believe थोड़ा सा आपको content मिल जाएगा. So international jurisprudence has acquired the maturity to realize that an effective international legal system is indispensable to ensuring peace, developing international cooperation, and generating the sovereign rights of states and people. Nothing much doing, that's why I wanted to skip it any which way. अच्छा जी, एक मैं क्वेश्चन अभी आपको आगे करवा दूंगा, इनफैक्ट लिखवा ही दूंगा. डिस्क्रिप्टिव आंसर आपका, इज इंटरनेशनल लॉ रियली लॉ, और व्हाट इज द आर्ग्यूमेंट अगेंस्ट इंटरनेशनल लॉ बीइंग लॉ, और क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ recognizing international law as law can be asked in CLAT-PG, can be asked in ILI's examination. We'll just set up a model answer so that we are prepared. All right. Now, what are the, you can say, the sources of international law? एक dedicated lecture अभी आएगा course के अंदर sources of international law, but just introducing the topics. So we have treaties, obviously. We have customs. We have general principles of law recognized by civil nations. All right. And there is controversy over whether resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly and the United Nations Security Council are the sources of international law or not. ठीक है जी, अभी उसके बारे में बातचीत करनी है, हमने बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल के अंदर हमने बातचीत करनी, right? So we are going to now basically keep nature of international law अगले लेक्चर में करते हैं. There is a lot to discuss there, and we have to discuss out आपका Article 38 of the ICJ statute that will pretty much cover all the sources of international law. I've just introduced to you, वो भी exhaustive list नहीं है sources of international law की, आगे है, because we have to pick that up from Article 38 of the ICJ statute. Then we're going to cover it out. So let's now see you in the next lecture, that is nature of international law, so that we keep the course organized. ठीक है, Mofatius, Jeremy Bentham, आपका Hugo Grotius, the most important MCQs should be covered from the first Committee of 17, tenure, Indians in the International Law Commission. All right, वो सब आप note कर लीजिए. Now we come to nature of international law in the next one. All right, see you.